I am in misery.
Another good song.
There ain't nobody
Nobody
who can
got
comfort
me. Oh
me.
yeah.
That's my Bob Dylan. Why won't
Oh,
you answer me?
me.
The silence is
Slowly
slowly
killing
killing me.
me.
Oh yeah, girl, I really want you bad.
Girl, I really want you bad.
Oh my goodness.
Starting off great.
All
Okay,
right,
here we go.
perfect. We got to get giggly before we start. That's our thing.
That's kind of our thing.
All right, you're starting first game. You have player, and then it's going to alternate from there. I don't
I
know if you
checked.
saw.
I did check today.
All right, cool.
We're back to Billy's for week 4 of Blitzball Blitz. So much happened, and Peter missed all of it. Let's talk Blitzball. Welcome to the Blitzball Boys, the podcast about Blitzball and boys, but lately about Blitzball. I'm your co-host, Brendan Ruppel, along with my fellow host, Peter Del Rey.
Hey, Brendan. Billy's happened. Blitzball Blitz is over. You
Over.
went there.
I went.
I didn't originally.
You
we'll
went
just
in your pants.
cover it now.
Yeah.
I originally couldn't go because I was supposed to help my parents move,
That was a lie.
and then it was a lie. Parents didn't move. And then I had to stay home because my wife got sick, and I had to take care of her. And I was telling Brendan before this, she had a pretty nasty allergic reaction to some medicine she took.
Another lie. Peter's wife is
But
imaginary.
I actually don't have a wife.
See, he just showed us, for the audio listeners, there was no ring on that finger. Unless Peter's just a dirty dog and just travels around New Jersey, bar to bar.
I
ring.
forget that we do video for this now, and like I'll get home from work, and like one of the first things I do when I get home from work is like, oh, I'm not going to leave the house anymore. I'll take off my ring, take off my necklace, and then when I get ready to come down here, I like go into my room, grab my water bottle, come down, and I always forget to put the ring back on to show everyone that I am handsome. But
Yes.
rest assured,
You don't show your face to tell people that you're handsome. You show your finger.
I show my ring
if you're married. Yeah.
because for the new listeners,
We're getting a big influx of listeners today.
big influx of listeners. The new listeners, it is pretty much canon on this show and in life that the only determining factor of a man's handsomeness is if he is married.
Yeah.
If he's married, he's handsome. If he's not married, he's ugly.
So this is
This
the second to last
podcast-
episode of me being ugly.
Second to last episode of this being a half handsome, half ugly pod.
Yeah.
It will. That just reminded me. So, as I said, Brendan was at Billy's. As I was watching the episode, I was screen grabbing clips of every time I saw Brendan on camera, and I sent it to him and his fiance. And I said, I sent a picture of him and her, and I go, half ugly, half not. And that's
the context for it.
That's going to change pretty soon.
It wasn't hard to find me because there was that whole.
You had a
sequence of
ridiculous
me-
shirt on.
I was streaking on the field.
You had a ridiculous shirt
see,
on. Let's be honest.
It's a great
Everybody
shirt.
who was there had some kind of Jomboy Media shirt, and you had some kind of Hawaiian. Was it the Yankee Hawaiian
It was
shirt?
the Rail Riders Hawaiian shirt. Yeah.
So you had the Rail Riders. It was very easy to spot Brendan
with the
in the
Forgotten
crowd.
Rotten in the middle. Yeah, it was easy to find me. And I was
With
wearing like
Forgotten Rotten in the middle.
fuckboy high
Brendan.
top, like a high ankle socks too.
Brendan had a very cool moment during the first game, Baggage versus Hookline, where Dan Canobio on the mound pointed him out, and he pointed back. It was very, very cool. Me watching it, I thought that Brendan was taking a drink because he was out of focus.
I was had my glass bottle in my hand, pointing to him.
But the angle made it look like you were drinking
just
it.
like not
so,
paying attention to him.
So I wrote to you guys, hysterical that Dan pointed you out and you just missed it. And Nicole, Brendan's fiance, corrected me and was like, no, he pointed back. It was really cute. And I was like, that's so fucking cool. That is so cool.
From my point of view, what happened to me was after he pointed out to me, and in that context of the game, we'll get to it obviously, but at that point, the game could have gone either way, and Hook, Line, Singers could have easily been knocked out in the play-in round. And I was like, oh no, he's gonna point to me and like lose the game now, and now the point's gonna mean like the end of Hook Line's tournament. And it meant the opposite. It meant like, he went on a tear from that moment on. I inspired him.
You inspired him.
Take it all the way to the championship. So
you inspired him. But with that, Brendan, you got some burns prepared for us, huh?
I got this is the most burns I've had to write for an episode.
That's not true.
Tied for most.
Yep, tied for most.
Tied for most.
Let's get into it, Brendy. A nice quick one to start.
Nice quick one. Well, it's the owners versus the boners for this play-in game to kick off the Billies tournament. Baggage gives the crowd some hope by getting to a second swing-off before Old Man Dan makes his old man proud by smashing an Oppo Taco. Hook Line moves on 5-2. Total bases, that is. No real runs were scored.
We can't talk too much because this was very short.
Yes.
But that home run was so fucking cool. I jumped out of my seat.
I didn't know how many home runs we would get. We haven't been seeing like a lot of home runs in this
tournament.
We got
many. Okay, you know what?
Bombs.
Let's go to game 2 because I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about too much. This game, there was a total of 23 pitches thrown in this game without the swing off factored into it. There was a total of 23 because obviously it was 1 inning, 2 outs per inning because it's the play-in.
Yeah. No, it was tough because it was 2 outs. So it was 2 outs each and then swing offs. It was wacky.
Yeah, it was very easy to talk about the whole thing right now because of how short it was. Let's just burn game 2. Sorry for rushing, guys.
No, let's go. The men of the Bronx take on the boys that love socks. Pinstripe Strunk squanders their only opportunity to score, leaving no room for error against We Got Ice. Just as Lou looks like he might get it to a swing off, Jack walks it off instead. We Got Ice wins 1-0.
Really deflating loss.
Really deflating. When I was there, we're very familiar with the rules at the warehouse. And then when this one landed, I was like, oh, that stinks. But all right, whatever, it's a single. And then Jimmy comes out and tells everyone, like, no, the double line is after the pitcher's mound. If it lands after the pitcher's mound, it's 2. And
crazy.
And then like once he said that, I knew where it landed and they had to go check, but I was like, shit, that's it. It's like any loss that ends with them having to check back the replay for the play itself is like it's very, very deflating.
Have you watched the episode back yet?
I did right before the first show ever recorded. Like when I got home, was half dinner and half watching at like 1.5x speed just to catch everything.
So I'm very curious as to how it looked in the warehouse because I'm going to be honest with you, the actual video itself, that's a tough play. Like
I'm glad I was there to give you this perspective.
There are people there to catch it. There are people there who will catch it. Like I'm confident in Dalton, Nikki, Jake, Zoe, and Jack to catch that ball. Anybody else, it's really a toss-up. That was a tough catch to make by Joe's.
Where it looked more difficult on the feed or in person, but I remember turning to Nicole and saying, yeah, that was very difficult. Because we're trained to know that anything off of the warehouse ceiling is difficult, and then when we go there and we see how difficult everything in the whole warehouse is to catch off the floor, off the ceiling, off whatever it hits, it's difficult. Now in Billy's, there instead of just like a straight ceiling, there's, I know the warehouse ceiling is not fully straight, but it's like more straight than what this was. Like you saw the air ducts up there. It can rattle around. It's a similar height to the warehouse. The lights, there's a lot more going on, and it wasn't like hit softly, and it was still like going to be an over-the-shoulder catch for either one of them for the most part.
Yeah.
And it's a new venue in general. It didn't look easy when I was there either. And like Lou made it seem like, fuck, Joseph, we got to talk about that. Like that's
even Jake on the broadcast, I think, was like, oh no, Joe's, and I was like, that's kind of unfair. That was a really tough one.
I didn't think it was on either one of them.
Yeah, but that was the main talking point.
Actually, a crazy catch if they did get it.
It would have been insane. Like I said, it's a catch that we like expect the We Got Ice boys to make, that Jake has been making this whole tournament. Because Jake had been defensively insane in this tournament.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the big thing there that we'll touch on. We'll go back to a more in-depth one after Brendan does the next burn. Ooh. Brendan burns.
Hook Line begins the next chapter of their revenge tour by facing the 1 seed Lovia's Nicky's stuff is icky, but he doesn't have his usual control. Jolly sets the tone with a massive olive bomb to put them up 2-0. Dan Canobio learns not to overthrow and makes quick work of Lovius to move on to the championship. Sometimes I forget where my rhymes are supposed to be. It's supposed to sound like Dan Canobio learns not to overthrow. So I had to really show more of that rhyme in there. Yeah, so I didn't really emphasize that O.
I like that one, Brendy. So at this point, correct me if I'm wrong, and anybody, if you listen to our episodes, our last episode, I believe at this point, Brendan, you had predicted everything correct after this game.
I was starting to feel it now. I'm like, oh shit, it's happening. Peter looks so
You're like,
stupid
oh my
right now.
God. I was like, well, I was watching the championship, right? Obviously, the championship was Hookline versus We Got Ice. At this point, we know that from Brendan's Burns. And I was like, oh my God, Brendan predicted this. If Hookline wins the whole thing, one, I'll be stoked. Famously,
and it's on
a
record.
Hookline.
I said to Nicole, my words are, it's on record. So you can't.
It is.
You could easily say, oh, I said that. But like,
And
now there's
I made fun of you.
He did.
So I was like, Brendan, you're being ridiculous. There's no way that Hookline is going to beat Love You. There is no shot. And then Jolly shows up and is Jolly because he's Jolly Big Bats.
Yeah.
And like, absolutely.
And Jolly says it, and I think Jake says it on the maybe it was Peter Moylan, but somebody
Peter
said
Del Rey.
maybe it was Peter Del Rey. It was somebody
Probably
on the
him.
feed was saying like, oh, like if Dan shows up and it's Dan, like this is a different team. I think Jolly mentioned like, well, if Dan performs like himself, we are like a massive threat. And I think that's what Peter Moylan said. He said, if Dan Canobio plays, like it's so crazy how he can go from 0 to hero. He could be absolutely all or nothing. And we've said that before too, that he either has got nothing at the plate, or is just taking over the entire game. And the fact that he was able to even just pitch really well all day at Billy's was huge for him. But the fact that he hit 2 home runs on this day was he was really showing up on both sides of the ball.
I mean, yeah, obviously one of the home runs doesn't count because it was a swing off home run,
Right.
like for
Still,
stats
like,
purpose, for stats keeping.
Fun.
What?
But it's still like balls over the wall is showing that he's
yeah, exactly. But like this game had me so hyped up. Nicky, by the way, I thought after that first inning and Nicky like locked in at the mound, like I think Dan had hit a single, I think it was, and then Nicky was like, all right, no more fucking games. Strikes out Jolly 3 pitches, and not to go into it too much. Strikes out Jolly 3 pitches and then gets Dan to like chop one back to him. He gets it. I was like, oh my God, this is over. Nicky's so locked in. And then Dan just like said, I think today's the day I make my case for a Cy Young, and gets 3 strikeouts. And like, we'll talk about this more later in the final. If Dan didn't play that first game and go to 2 at-bat offs, maybe the final's a different story because Dan clearly got gas there.
Yeah.
But before I get too far into it, you want to just burn the 4th one, and then we'll go back. We'll rewind back in time and go through it from one by one. It's too hot in here.
Crowd favorite We Got Ice takes on beloved franchise Hookline Sinkers in this heated battle. Jack looks like peak Jack in his second game of the day, absolutely dicing up the Hookers. We Got Ice takes advantage of a tired old man and get him for 5 2-out runs. Hookline makes it a game when Dan hits a home run. Jack Doyle ultimately, though, shuts him down with some gross pitching and keeps the score the same as Dan's age 5-1.
Oh my God. So rude. That's so rude. He pointed to you, gave you a really cool moment, and this is how you repay him.
It's just to see if he's listening. It's
oh
just
my
a check.
Goodness. That's so rude, Brendan. Yeah, I mean, I think this was the first time that I really realized, like, oh shit, We Got Ice is super popular. Like, I know they always talk about it, but I've never like met someone in real life who's like, oh yeah, I love We Got Ice. I know them from before from like outside of Jomboy.
Right.
And then I also kind of realized that, it's people who are younger than me, not really people who I'm talking to on a daily basis. But
exactly.
I love We Got Ice. I love Hookline. I think the big thing that I want to talk about here, because I don't want to forget about it later, is this is really the time where you saw how important it is to have two pitchers on a team. Because like I said, Dan got gassed big time. I said this before. Dan was looking unstoppable. First two, and we've seen this before. This isn't the first game that we've seen this, where Dan has looked unstoppable for the first two batters he faces and then completely loses it from the third batter on.
Yeah.
It was strikeout, 5-pitch walk, single, and it was like during the at-bat for Jack where he hit a single, you kind of thought to yourself, he's gone. We've seen this too many times where and it's usually if Dan has multiple games in a day, we've seen it too many times where in his second game of the day or in his third game of the day, in this case, he kind of hits a wall, and it's crazy. There is no steady decline. It's
just drop off.
Dan is performing at a Cy Young level, hits this wall, and then is just fucking shelled.
And I was really glad that I was able to squeeze in watching the actual feed afterwards, because seeing it in person, you don't really get a sense of how he's actually feeling. Because you see it happen in front of you, but it's weird. All of a sudden, it just stopped working, his arm, because the velo was still there, so you didn't fully know why it all of a sudden just unraveled, but you sort of have an inkling. And then as soon as you go back and watch and you listen to the commentators, they are starting to question it and oh, you know what? He seems a little tired. And I remembered I was actually going to mention this, the most important thing. In between one of his games, Dan is sitting down with Peter Moylan after maybe the second game. Is yeah, my arm's fucking shot.
Yeah.
So I guess, you know what? That's what I really meant to talk about, is how he
it
himself said he was
after
really
the
tired.
first.
Oh, really? So even worse.
Because
so he powered
in
through the second game, I guess.
It went straight through second game to third game.
Yeah.
He played back to back. But yeah, we've seen it so many times with Dan, and it's really unfortunate because, like I said, I'm a Hookline fan, always been a Hookline fan. And
once baggage was out for me, I was like, all right, cool, now I can be fully into hookers the rest of the day.
Oh, I don't know if you saw this in the notes that I put up. Did you notice that, while you were watching it, were you like, oh, these are the last two tournament finalists? I didn't realize that. We Got Ice was a finalist in Blitzball Battle 3, obviously runner-up. And then in Ball and Play, Hookline won the whole thing.
Wow.
So you're seeing these two teams are really and I can't wait for Floorball to see what Floorball's like, because We Got Ice, I think, was pretty good in Floorball in the first one. They just had a couple things missing. So I'm really excited about that.
Speaking of champions, though, recently, I don't know if you noticed, but both Jolly and BBD were wearing their Ball and Play champions hat.
I did. It's BBD's favorite hat. You could hear that exclusive scoop on our interview of
it's
BBD.
Covering up a very bad haircut currently.
Covering up a very good bad hair currently?
That's what he says. Word on the street is
that's
that
what he says?
He's got a botched hair job.
No.
Yeah, that's what he says.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that for a second. BBD's a looker. Always been. Haircut or not. BBD's always been a looker.
Post a hatless selfie as soon as you hear this, BBD.
Post a hatless selfie, BBD.
Coward.
Get our number somehow. Send us some pictures of you in just no hat, and that's it.
Just a hat covering something?
That's a creative way of asking for a nude. Let's go back in time to Billy's game
Hey,
one.
baby, send me a picture of you wearing just a hat.
Billy's game one. Baggage versus Hookline, the play-in. So yeah, we touched on this before. 1 inning game, 2 outs per half inning. Jake starts off probably one of the worst starts, probably the second worst start you could have. First pitch, double. The only thing worse would be a first pitch home run.
As soon as that happened, because going into it, knowing it was a 2-out game, I was like, you know what? We might not get much offense here. Jolly's first swing, I was like, holy shit, this is going to be a big day for, for offense in this warehouse or this bar.
Jolly gets that double, and you think to yourself, fuck yeah, Hookline's in. Then Jake strikes out the next 2. Jake was gross. Jake was pitching so well
Yeah.
in this entire this. And I understand it's a small sample size. Like I said before, there was 23 pitches thrown in this game. Jake threw 12 of them. Very, very small sample size.
Mm-hmm.
But Jake was so
That's
good.
in regulation.
What did you say?
That's in regulation. You're talking about those.
That's in
23 pitches?
regulation.
Okay.
I didn't count. No stats count for the at bat off because there's too many. You could just throw unlimited balls. I didn't want to count that.
Yeah.
towards the stats. So Jake goes in, 2 outs. Oh my God, hook line didn't score. Baggage is in complete control right now. But then Dan, like I said later on, looked like he was throwing his hat in the ring for the Cy Young. And Dan, for the most part today, pitched incredibly. Dan was phenomenal on the mound today. For the most part, like obviously the final, we'll talk about it later. He strikes out Jimmy and Jake to send it to an at-bat off.
Yeah.
We get to this at-bat off, and like Jimmy, I felt so bad for Jimmy because Jimmy like came from this incredible game in the warehouse.
Yeah, like they had a comeback game, and I was like, oh shit, like maybe Baggage hits again. And then like once Dan starts to mow them down, you're like, okay, I've seen this before. Now I'm not fully on the train of like Dan is here to pitch today as much as I'm like, it's one of those days where Baggage just does not hit.
Right. But, nobody hit. Goes the at-bat off. Dan strikes out. Jolly gets a single. Okay, pressure's on for Baggage. Dan's on the mound against Jimmy, who, like we said, has not looked good. And granted, it was one at-bat.
Right.
But, he did not look good. Oopsie. Jimmy hits a single, right? And now the pressure goes from being on Baggage to equal the total bases to on hook line where it's like this could be over in one pitch.
At this point, I'm not even mad at Jimmy did his job as far as I'm concerned. Like he, out of the very limited opportunity he had, he got a hit.
Yep.
Now, sure, Jake pitched really well, but he's known for his bat, and he couldn't come through with anything more than nothing. Like he didn't do anything in the swing off.
Well, yeah,
that's where they lost.
I mean, he hit a tough grounder, and if Jolly wasn't playing where he was playing, so he hit a tough bouncing ball to Jolly, who makes a clean grab to get the out and really save hook line season. So then you go to round 2 of the at-bat off where Jimmy says, okay, one person pitches and hits. That's it. And you got to wonder, if Dan doesn't hit this home run or if Jake hits a home run to answer Dan's home run, does Jimmy then say, okay, Jolly pitches and hits, I pitch and hit?
Probably, I would say.
So,
that would have been nuts. That would have been a crazy way to start the day, by the way. That would have been holy shit.
Insane. So then, a spoiler, already spoiled it. Dan absolutely cranks one. Home run. Then Dan takes the mound, knowing the best that Jake can do is draw the game, tie the game, and then send it to another round. So, for you, you're a pitcher. You've pitched. When you played baseball, you pitched, right? Mm-hmm. It's not like me who started pitching when I started playing Blitzball. Mm-hmm. But, in your head, knowing that, hey, I'll give up anything but a home run, what are you throwing?
Fastballs, just straight. It's very unlikely he's going to hit a home run off you at that point. He's the pressure's on him. He's probably so scared.
But fastballs where? In the zone?
Anywhere. Just I mean, I guess it's different because in this situation, it's so unique that you can throw unlimited balls. So maybe that would change my thought process a little bit. So I guess no matter what, in swing off, I would just be throwing constant breaking balls.
Would you even try if you were just doing fastballs? Would you try to slow it down so that you could get a little more accurate and get the ball bottom inside, lower inside corner?
No, I think with the swing off, I would just be trying to throw the nastiest stuff I possibly could because there's no consequences.
Yeah,
just be dirty and hopefully it catches a good spot. But I think getting as much movement as you can on balls will hopefully miss barrels, and all you want to do is just miss a barrel in that point.
Interesting. Well, and you see that happen because Jake hits a single and Baggage gets eliminated. And with that, Dan threw 11 pitches. Dan and Jake both got 2 strikeouts. Jolly's the only hit in the game in regulation. Absolutely incredible game. What a way to start. When I wonder what was it like in person, because watching it, the last thing you want is the two last place teams to put out a stinker game, right? And I
Right.
don't think they did.
No,
At
I
all.
think I'm glad that they have fleshed out the swing off system in past tournaments because it could have easily been that way with like a quick playing game. They want us to get it over with, and then it drags on because no one gets hits right away. So I think having this system was super smart by them. They know what to do for overtime just to get the game finished and for there to be some action. So it wasn't by any means the best game, and it was quick, but I think it was handled really well. I at some points, especially early on when Dan was like super amped up and was constantly hitting speeds, I felt bad a little bit for Jimmy because he was like trying to put on a show when it's the first game and he's excited. And as a content creator, it's like tough for there to be no hitting and then this like a bunch of redo pitches. So that for
Right.
that I felt for him a little bit, but it quickly solved itself and it eventually panned out pretty well.
Yeah. So what was it like? Just tell me about the atmosphere when Dan hit the home run.
I mean, it was awesome. It was loud in there. It was just what I pictured it to be, with everyone up on those balcony walls, leaning over and just chanting the entire time. A lot of old man Dan chants.
Nice.
Honestly throughout the entire day. Because once he hit that home run, I felt like he won over the crowd, and the rest of the day they were chanting old man Dan. Anytime he was up there, they loved him. It was really cool to see. Everybody was obviously everyone that's there is so excited to be there because they're not just like random fans that showed up to like a baseball game. They are
Right.
kind of hardcore fans of this YouTube channel essentially. So everyone that is there is amped it and into it. So I mean, you couldn't really ask for a better, more intimate environment.
Hell yeah. So with that, I think it's a perfect lead into player of the game.
Player of the game.
Brendan has it.
The player of the game for me.
Brendan's the player of the game. Congratulations.
Play of the game. Dan Canobio. Dan Canobio
Dan.
starts his potential MVP of the day run at this point. Like
Revenge tour.
Revenge tour.
The
He's like,
Dan
you know what?
Kenobi Revenge.
During the regular season, I didn't perform, and now I'm going to show you that once you get into the dance, you can be a different player.
Yeah. That is crazy. He
Yeah.
had 0 hits in the regular season, and his first hit of the tournament. Granted, not an official hit because it was in an at-bat off. Not an official. I should say this. Not by Jomboy standards, not an official hit. By Blitzball boy standards, we're not
Yes,
counting that
yes.
as an official hit. But yeah, on both sides, dominant on the mound, dominant. Maybe not dominant at the plate, but like he was the one who got that hit to win the game.
He only really let up a couple grounders throughout the course of the
Yeah.
game. You know, nothing in the air, no barrels, nothing crazy.
Oh, your count? You mean the at bat off?
Yeah, throughout the day. I mean, anything that did happen,
Oh yeah,
it was really no hard contact.
yeah. Dan's so good. Dan's so good.
He found it. He found that release point.
He found it, baby. Peter Moylan, shout out. Play of the game.
Play the game. Up.
I wonder, Brendan. Joe's McFly and his family set a record last episode
Yes.
for most play of the games by a family.
Is there a family that was at Billy's that will
Is there a family
break the record?
that was at Billy's that will break this record? And unless somebody is related to Jolly Olive, I don't think so because I'm
Ho.
giving my play of the game to Jolly
Wow.
catching the chopping grounder that Jake had hit during the at-bat off to save the season, really.
That's it.
Because Jolly doesn't do that. Obviously, Baggage wins.
Yeah.
And because he did that, gave Dan a chance at the plate again, and Dan hit that home run. And I think the catalyst of all of it was Jolly just, and arguably it was him just being in the right place at the right time. But
Yeah, but you still got to catch it too. You're right. Like it's very easy to just drop that ball. The ball's coming at you fast. It skips off the concrete ground. Those balls aren't as easy as you think to catch, and he did it.
no balls are.
No balls are.
No balls are.
Take it from us.
And with that, we'll move on to game 2. We Got Ice versus Pinstripe Strong.
Wow.
And Brendan, before I get into it, do you want to tell me about the atmosphere during this game?
This is so everyone was very excited for the first one. Obviously, is the first one. People are hyped up.
Right.
We get here, and now you see all the kids are coming out. All the kids that have been asking for Zoe's autograph on their Blitzballs. All the people that are excited to bump into Jack. Um, the little kids of the fan groups are really just showing this. It's so cute to see all these people that brought signs and like they're with their parents. Like there's a lot like little kids, and even like some like tweens ish. Like, around I think that was like that tops the age groups for the We Got Ice fans for the
Right.
most part. But that was almost half the, or at least a quarter of the people there were We Got Ice lifers,
Crazy.
and they were like, it was either Old Man Dan chants for the day or We Got Ice chants. That was like those are like
Yeah.
the two big loud ones, and it was really fun to see a stadium full of people that were there for these. Like it just reminds you of how big their following is.
Well, that and then the team they were up against had their own fan contingent, right?
Yes. And, well, once this game's over, obviously you forget why they're there, and they just become like
Right.
a part of the whole vibe of the event. But essentially, they were there as a
man.
fan club for Joe's. Joe's is I keep calling over text. Peter's like, what are you talking about? I kept calling them Joe's band, as if Joe's is a part of like some musical group. But Joe's, if you're familiar with Joe's McFly on Twitter, you've probably seen the famous video of this like percussion group watching the playoff baseball game with Joe's during, was it the 2021 playoffs when they got eliminated in the wild
I
card?
don't even know. I love
But it's
it.
an incredible moment in Twitter history that I've seen. It's one of the funniest videos ever. I think they get knocked out and everyone just stops playing their instrument and just looks really sad. But that whole group is there. That made the environment better than I could have imagined. Just like having constant just music, and it was
Right.
it was like the version. So when we were at the warehouse, when we had everyone just kind of hitting our seats to like get amped
Right.
up for each pitch, it was that times 100 because it's actually sounded nice and sounded good, and like people that were gifted with instruments or like helping. It was almost like having an organist there, but instead of an organist to hype up each pitch, it was the percussion group.
Ooh,
So it was a lot of fun.
that's so
It was
cool.
really cool.
I did think it was funny that after the pinstripe game, so pinstripe game happens, and these guys with the drums have a bunch of like Dominican and Puerto Rican flags tied in front of them, and I noticed that in the final they showed them again. They replaced all of them with American flags.
Like, well,
Did you see that?
No, I didn't notice that.
Oh my goodness, I was cracking up.
Like, I guess we're rooting for Americans now.
But yeah, we got Joe's and Lou, the banger,
The banger.
versus We Got Ice, and you know this was we're now into the 3-out games, no longer 2 outs, still 1 inning. Jack doesn't look like Jack just yet
Not just
in
yet.
this one,
He will.
because first he starts off with a walk, then he goes 4 balls 0 strikes, or Lou walks, right? Joe's gets 4 balls against him, 0 strikes, hits a single into the bar, right? Then Lou hits a single, bases loaded for Pinstripe Straw.
No outs at this
right?
point, right?
No outs. So bases loaded. Jack's really worked himself into a corner, and then Jack says, "You know what, guys? I'm fucking sick."
It's
of it."
tough because at this point, and
Strikes.
with bases loaded, no outs, I'm like, Lou still hasn't really made great contact yet. This is perfect.
No.
Like they're gonna now take advantage of this and then just go off. Like Lou's gonna get a big hit somewhere.
Exactly. But then Joe strikes out. Lou chops one to Jack that he catches, because Jack, like the hardest ground ball, Jack will catch, because Jack is just so adept at essentially playing baseball indoors at this
Yeah.
point. And he's used to these bounces.
Mm-hmm.
And then Joe strikes out. And it's like, oh, what happened to all this danger that We Got Ice was under? All gone.
Mm-hmm. And then once you
Dissipated.
get 2 outs in a situation like that, and you feel like you should have scored already, now the pressure's really on you because you feel like your opportunity is slipping through your fingers.
Right. So then it switches up. And I don't know about you. I was thinking We Got Ice won this. It's done.
Yeah,
Jack
no,
and
that's
Zoe have
exactly
been-
it. Like I felt
They've been
earlier
so good at the plate.
that as long as they get one big hit, Pinstripe has the momentum and they could run away with this
Right.
early, and they really put the pressure on them to have to come back. But when it's kind of like in baseball, if the other team makes a couple errors and you don't take advantage and score on them, you feel like it's going to bite you in the ass. The same thing here, where if you squander this opportunity, essentially,
Right.
a team like We Got Ice that is a pretty big overall in Blitzball warehouse history. They're now a powerhouse with like both guys being able to hit. You can't lose opportunities like that, especially in short games too. With 1 inning games, anything you miss, it's really tough.
If Zoe learns how to pitch,
yeah,
it's over. It is over if Zoe learns how to pitch.
Yeah,
he's going they're going to be unstoppable. But right, Jack steps up first, Lou pitching, and this was the thing that shifted my mindset from We Got Ice has this to maybe not, because we've seen this absolutely nasty side from Lou on the mound.
Yeah,
and he strikes Jack out, but he doesn't just strike Jack out. He strikes Jack out looking, not even attempting,
like looking dirty.
And you're just standing there. I'm watching this. I'm like, oh
shit.
my gosh, is this going to an at bat off? Like, are we seeing 2 in a row? This is
almost
crazy.
Did. I mean, we get 2 outs, nobody on.
No, there was somebody on. So then Zoe gets a single, then Jack walks, and then Zoe's battling, and he's fouling off strike 3 in the next at bat. But then Lou strikes him out, and you're like, okay, runner on first and second, like Pinstripe might do this. And then we talked about it before. Jack pops it up, rattles around the ceiling, ting, 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 comes down just out of Joe's fingertips, or like between his fingertips or whatever. Very difficult play we talked about before, but it lands behind the mound. Double. There was a runner on second. We Got Ice moves on.
Yeah. I guess their hands are tied with Billy's ground rules and what they could do with doubles and stuff. It didn't seem like a fair double based on especially there's some warehouse balls that would be home runs in other parks that end up being just doubles because they hit really hard, but they're hit a little bit high. This ball didn't feel like it was hit that hard. It just felt like sort of a straight up in the air pop up.
Yeah.
That the trajectory took it past the pitcher's mound, which is only 45 feet away. So that being like the game ender just felt a little bit like they didn't catch it, sure, but that little dink and dunk of a hit felt like such a dagger for Pinstripe Strong.
It did feel disappointing that this happened in the tournament setting.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, this is why we love the warehouse, right? We love the warehouse because of all this fucky shit that can go on. And it's like,
and that is like the most We Got Ice win either. It just like, I think I'm just coming from a point of view of now at this point, I was rooting for Pinstripe Strong to move on and like to show people I got too close. So I felt what they felt, like that's how we fucking lose and get out of this tournament. You got to be kidding me. And that's the perfect way for We Got Ice to move on.
Lou was too nice to us, and he made us Pinstripe Strong fans. And Joe's was too nice to us when we talked to him, and he made us Pinstripe Strong fans. So that you just and we said it too last episode when Joe's. I think that if we never spoke to Joe's in that interview and we never met Joe's in person, that we would not have been as upset when Joe's bobbled that ball in the warehouse.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. So
with this, I think that. Yeah, I felt bad for Joe's, but at the same time, that's fucking warehouse ball, you know. And that's why we love the warehouse. We love the warehouse because of its quirks.
Yep, that's why I love it. I always loved like the stupid hill in the old Astro Stadium. Like I love all the weird little quirks. Yeah. I sort of like the stupid wall that they just moved back in Camden Yards. It makes no sense, but it's silly.
I don't like that because there's too much injury potential with the Camden Yards one.
Yeah,
but I've always loved the hill in the old Astros. But yeah.
Anyway, I want to say like just no shade thrown at We Got Ice because it seems like every time we talk about a team playing it, we're always rooting for the team that's playing against them. It seems like, but it's just they just have a big fan base. That's all. Everybody else against them.
I'm so glad you said this. Yeah. I'm so glad you said this because when we were in the warehouse and we were watching them play, I felt awful because like in the first game, I was like, let's go baggage.
But also, everybody that works there is always rooting against We Got Ice, it seems like, too, except for, like, Paxton.
But then, like, yeah, you're fully right with that. But, like, then it's like they played Pinstripe, and I was like, we're like, let's go Pinstripe. And I think it's kind of just like we don't want the clearly better team to win.
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Nicole asked this, too, because she's, like, an adjacent fan and was there knowing who the characters were, sort of part.
Jason?
She's a Jason fan. She loves those movies.
She's a big Jason fan.
She's a big heart. I mean, it's October, so it's spooky season. It's relevant. But,
Jason fan. Movies.
She's a Jason Alexander fan.
Jason Alexander.
Yeah.
Jason Del Rey,
Jason Del Rey. Your cousin, maybe?
famously my cousin. Yeah.
Nailed it. But
First mention, Jason, you're welcome.
so she like sort of knows who these people are. She knows the faces from seeing the games over my shoulder, but was excited to go because she is a decent enough fan of it to be excited, but not really know what's going on, and was asking like, so who are we rooting for exactly? And I was like, you know what? I think she said it in a way that like, is this a silly question? I'm like, no, that's a great question. Me and Peter talk about it all the time. It's a funny thing to root for because you're rooting for everyone at the same exact time. It makes no sense, but that's the way it is.
It's true.
As I explained it, like we're just kind of rooting for a good game, essentially.
We're rooting for a good time.
Yeah.
I don't think there's ever been a warehouse.
Except for when Baggage is in the field, I'm rooting for Baggage.
Or when Hookline's in the field, then I'm rooting
Then
for
I think at that point I switched, to Hookline.
I feel like I'm trying to think back. Is there ever a time where I was rooting against somebody? Yeah, Blitzball Battle 1, I didn't want Rotten. I wanted Baggage to win Blitzball 1 so bad.
Rotten to win. Okay. You cut out for a second when you said Rotten.
Oh, sorry.
It sounded like I bleeped you out. I didn't want the truth to come out.
You bleeped me. All right. And it's nothing against like Trevor and Vinny. It was like it was just player. Like how cool would this be if Jimmy and Jake beat MLB players to I don't even care. Everybody would have said it was rigged.
Right.
Everybody would have said it was rigged. I don't even care. I would have loved that.
Yeah.
Or even like in Blitzball Battle 3, I didn't want Como to win.
Yeah,
I've been very upfront about that, and it's nothing against the guys. Like we talked to Caden, we talked to Sammy. They were great guys. We really like them a lot, and they're great players. You can't take that away from them.
Yeah, but that's exactly it.
You want the underdogs to win.
Yeah, I think they would understand that too.
You better understand it, Caden, Sammy. Give me a call.
Give me a call.
Player of the game.
Player of the game.
It's very obviously Jack. Oh, I have player of the game. Forgot to tell you guys.
Oh.
It's very obviously Jack. Jack had 2 strikeouts on the mound. You know, he had that double to get the RBI to win the game. You know?
Mm-hmm.
He was all over the place.
Yeah.
In this game. And he really like Brendan and I were talking about this before. Jack kickstarted his MVP campaign in the warehouse, in Billy's today, where it kind of went from a point of, and we've talked about this before. We talked about this when Zoe was on. We talked about this in other award shows. Jack, a lot of the time, gets overlooked because Jack has always been consistently one of the better players in the warehouse.
Yeah.
And this was really the first time, because I think you and I were both thinking before this, like, hey, Nicky's probably going to be the MVP, right?
Yeah.
This game is what really made it click with me that, oh, Jack has kind of like clearly been the best player in the tournament.
Yeah. And then you kind of look back at Nicky's campaign and like, and I think Jake touched on a little bit in the booth, was sort of saying like, you know, not saying it's fully fugazi, but almost all the games that Lovey has won was in a swing off.
Yeah, we mentioned that too.
Yeah.
We mentioned that in, I forget if it was our last episode of the, but like just this is after all said and done, right?
Yeah.
The stats I'm about to read to you. Nicky's batting average, not on base percentage for the tournament, is 333.
Mm-hmm. Which in warehouse ball is not like the best.
Jack's is 700.
Yeah.
Jack and Lou, both 700.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
like you expect Lou to be up there, sort of, but like Jack being up there is kind of nuts.
Right. When you get to pitching,
he's not always known for hitting.
Like you get to pitching, right? Jack has 15 strikeouts.
Yeah. And we'll get to the next game he pitches in, but like this was just a preview.
Right. The next game he pitches in, like ridiculous.
Yeah.
And to be fair, it is padded a little bit because of that next game, because he got an extra inning to work with.
Right.
But like 15 strikeouts is nuts. He had 20 outs recorded. Let me see what this. I don't know off the top of my head, but just outs recorded over, strikeouts over outs recorded, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is just comparing Jack to Nicky. It's the same. So, but it's the same over a
pitching
larger
wise, I
sample
think
size.
Nicky, besides the one game in Billy's, was disgusting.
Nicky was nuts.
Disgusting.
Nicky
And
was
it
nuts.
does stink that the only time he got to pitch was the one inning because,
Yeah.
that's part of my reasoning for Hookline taking a game over Lovey's was knowing, like, oh, you know what? They had a couple weeks off. Like, I know they had a full week off between each series of games anyway, but 2 weeks off to me just felt like a lot of time for Nicky to get a little cold and lose his release point with his nasty slider.
Right.
Because in the first couple weeks, he was dotting that slider in the same exact spot over and over again, and no one could touch it. I didn't see that location hit from him almost the entire game. So he just didn't have it that day, or he was going to start finding it if he got a second inning even, but he just didn't get the chance.
I mean, like something I really want to stress here, right, is Jack had 8 more outs recorded than Nicky did. 8 more outs recorded than Nicky did. And he had 6 more strikeouts.
Yeah.
And so, like, yeah, the sample size is smaller for Nicky, but then you move over to hits, right?
Mm-hmm.
And hits per out over outs recorded. Nicky had 58%. Or Nicky had 7 for 12. He was 7 hits over 12 outs recorded, and it's 58%. Jack had 10 over 20, but you also have to remember 5 of those hits of Jack's 10 for 20 were against Baggage in the game where Baggage was fucking superhuman.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Jack, this is where it fully clicked with me. Like Jack is going on both ends, and
yeah,
Jack looks like, unless Lou makes these crazy improvements, Jack looks like he's kind of leapfrogged Lou in
for
terms
best
of
overall player,
most dangerous. And like I feel like we give Lou the credit for most dangerous because Lou is a lot more intense with it. Jack has a very subtle
he's
intensity.
got the slug too a little bit.
Right. Well, that's a completely different story. I think best hitter is got to be Lou.
Yeah.
Best all around. Like Lou's getting there. Lou's pitching is getting there.
Lou's made some strides with the pitching for sure.
But like Jack has been, this game made me realize like just how good Jack has been in this tournament.
Yeah, he's made a lot of adjustments.
He definitely has. Play of the game.
Play the game. Speaking of Jack, it's Jack's catch. I mean, that was a huge moment where he caught the ground ball against Lou because the bases, I think, were loaded at the time, and Lou, the big bopper, is up. So to get him to ground out back to you, to me, is a huge stifling of that potential rally at that point. So great moment. Huge.
Great moment. Huge, great moment. I fully agree with you. I think it was the most impactful play of that game.
Yeah.
Easily. He stopped. We've all seen how easy it is to bobble the ball. Mm-hmm. We've all seen how easy it is. So him stopping that, making the catch, getting the out, keeping the runners on, most importantly, was huge because that takes a load off of their chest. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah.
Because all you need is one barrel. One barrel. You win the game at this point. Because there's 0. Because Pinstripe got 0.
That's it. You don't need to do too much at the plate because you stopped them.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
But
okay. Let's get to game 3.
Let's move on to game 3. Lovias versus Hookline. And the big question here was Lovias had more of a rest than anybody else. They didn't play last week. They didn't play up until the 3rd game of this day. How much will that impact them? Have Nicky and Dalton... I don't know why I said it like that.
Okay.
have Nicky and Dalton kind of lost their edge? Have they been practicing on their own? Is Hookline's warm-up game against Baggage, and for those who are only listening, I put air quotes on warm-up, has that really helped them out to get hot and to get ready and to, you're facing tournament pitching. And I think I never noticed this. Famously, very famously, I don't pay attention
Famously a fool.
to like fool. Famously a fool. Famously, I don't pay attention to pitches, like what kinds of pitches are coming, or like the speeds of pitches. I think during the warm-ups they were showing Nicky, and the balls were coming in at like 35, 40 miles an hour for the warm-ups, and it's like, yeah, that's warm-up pitching. I understand that completely. Dan and Jolly have already seen tournament speed pitching. And you got to think, did this fuck with Love's too much? Because you look at it, right? And Nicky's on the bump to start the game. Nicky hasn't pitched in over a week. Walks the first batter. Then he strikes out Dan.
At this point, you're like, okay,
then-
maybe he just walked one guy, he struck out the next guy. He's probably still just as good.
Jolly hits a homer. Next pitch.
Whoa.
It's like, oh, okay, everybody gets one of those every once in a while.
Right.
And it was a fun homer, too, because it like hit off the back wall, came back. Dalton caught it because Dalton's a fucking freak athlete.
Right, and you might as well catch it just in case you don't know where it actually bobbled
Right.
around.
And then you see Nicky lock in, and, oh, I'm sorry. And then Dan hit a single, and then Nicky locked in,
And they're the kind of guys, too, like, if they go
strike
down
out.
2, they're not done. There's
Right.
always a chance for the two of them to come back.
this. We've talked about this, right? In Blitzball, you need to get that third run to really feel safe. A
Yeah.
2-run lead is never a good lead.
Yeah.
Then he strikes out Jolly, that he gets Dan to slowly chop one back to him to end the inning. And then this is where what I was just talking about with the tournament speed pitching really comes into effect. Because Nicky comes up to the plate, and he is having a great eye. Nicky's really like laying off some tight pitches. Dan is dealing, right? Gets Nicky swinging at a high ball, essentially. Strikeout. Dalton's up. 2 strikes on him early. Gets a strikeout, but oops, redo-dee-doo, 71 miles an hour. Comes back, doesn't matter. Dan strikes him out anyways. That's 2. Third one, Nicky comes back and it's like, oh, Nicky was locked in. Nicky's going to be locked in. Nicky's going to get this one. Just kidding. Dan was like Nicky looked like he was trying to be a hero, swinging at pitches that he normally doesn't swing at. Dan strikes him out with the slider that he brought back.
Yeah. I think did he point that Moylan at that point? Because I think Moylan was talking to him about being afraid to throw the slider when they were in the booth together. So he found it. He found the release point and made it work. So I think overall your thesis here is right. I think that the quote unquote warm up game helped hook line, and I think you're right about them being cold. I mean, it's tough to just all of a sudden come in and have to perform at a championship level when just getting one inning to play. It's tough.
You got to think, if Nicky just goes and instead of has Dalton throw him warm-ups and vice versa, right? If he goes, hey, Lou, just fucking rip some at me.
Yeah.
And just not swing.
And maybe
just
they did a little
watch
bit.
him go by.
I don't know, but
from what I saw, it was just him and Dalton was throwing like 35 mile an hour in.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you get Lou, who is out, so there's no real harm in getting Lou to come in and do this. You get Lou to come in and just throw as hard as he can, right?
Yeah.
Throw as hard as he can, even if it's over the 60 miles an hour, just to get you used to that speed. Would that have helped Love's better?
Maybe, yeah.
Granted, I really want to stress this. Dan was being absolutely filthy. Dan was being phenomenal on the mound.
Yeah. And he got time to help himself figure out his release points and stuff too, and how to pitch under the speed limit and find his release point for his slider. Right. That first game really helped him out a lot, and you can't underestimate the feeling of coming into a game fully cold, and like people like Dalton only got one at bat all day.
Right.
That's so difficult.
At the end of the day, we never know what's going to happen. We're never going to know if it was the week off or Hookline was just dealing. Hookline was playing out of their mind. Hookline was playing like what I had expected Hookline to play like from the very beginning of Blitzball Blitz in this Billy's portion of Blitz.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just going to go into it.
Let's get it.
Player of the game.
Player of the game. Ooh, remix.
Double. 2 people get player of the game. As is tradition.
Half the field get it. I have player of the game, correct?
Brendan has player of the game.
This one
Correct.
goes to Jolly. Jolly gets player of the game for his big homer. He is all of the offense in this particular game. Jolly only hits dingers. It's only all he knows how to do. He hits either doubles or home runs or singles. No triples though.
He's the slugging king.
Slugging
No
king.
triples though.
No triples.
No triples though.
I don't know if I talked to you about this, but when I used to play this game called.
Of course, is this another fucking Linda Hurst game? is this another? We're just add it to the Rolodex.
It was called
absolutely ridiculous shit you guys used to do.
So it was called curveball.
Of course,
and,
it was.
And we would take like a tennis ball or a handball, and it was like baseball. You were the batter, and the way you would hit, there's no pitches, but you would throw the ball as hard as you could at the corner of the curb, and there's people in the field, and they would have to treat the ball as if it was now in play after you got a hit off the curb. So we would play it in like the elementary school parking lot, or we'd play a couple kids had like good backyards for it. We would just slam fucking like, weird shaped balls against their parents' patio, and they would get mad when they would come home because sometimes like if you missed it, then it would bounce and then hit the glass back wall, glass back doors, like the sliding glass doors in a lot of people's places, whatever. So the point is that we had a rule where when the ball was hit off the curb and bounced into the field, if it like hit the top of the fence and if something weird happened in the field, it was just an automatic triple. So I wonder if there should be like some funny warehouse rule if it like it goes into a certain hole in like the left field corner or something, then that's the only place in the entire warehouse that could be a triple. Like something funky that.
There is that one part of the ceiling in the warehouse where there's like a square that's just open and then a square on the other side. If it goes into that and out of that square and lands, that should be the triple.
I'm thinking like when you play pinball and like you hit the ball into a very fun, like you're looking for that one perfect hit that gets you like X amount of extra balls or bonus plays or whatever. That's the kind of stuff I want from the warehouse.
I've never played
like real pinball.
I've only heard the song. But since I was a young boy, I played the silver balls.
So you would probably love it. You would probably love the actual
Pinball
game.
Wizard. I love it. Maybe. I don't know. I've always wanted to play Pokemon pinball.
I can't believe you've never played actual like a pinball machine.
Yeah, Brandon, I'm
That's
a
crazy.
fucking loser.
That's weird.
I'm a massive
I thought
loser.
like, oh, this could be a perfect comp for Peter. Like, never fucking played pinball.
Never played pinball. Yeah, listen, you think of anything, chances are haven't done it.
Good rule of thumb.
Right, Brendan? Brendan knows this better than anybody. How many things on this show alone have we uncovered?
Yeah, I can't wait for the pinball
chocolate milk,
to come after you.
Milkshake.
So now
pinball.
what's happened through this show is that you're becoming more a man of the world, a more cultured
I'm becoming
guy.
a man of the world.
So you've had the milkshake and the milk now because we got bullied by Drew Davis. So now someone out there at Jomboy Media staff, please bully Peter into going to play pinball.
Wow, unbelievable. Now fucking BBD is going to message me. He's gonna play pinball or else. That's what's going to
It's a picture of him just wearing a hat. Nothing else.
I have a really great picture, a really great threatening picture on my phone of Blastoise. I think I've sent it to you.
Yes, that's a good picture.
It's such a good one. But
okay.
Jolly for sure. Was
yes.
Player of the game.
There we go.
For sure.
Play of the game.
Play of the game.
Pretty funny. Wow, Brendan. Way to ruin the moment.
That's my laugh. I have a new laugh.
So I'm stuck between two for this, but I think it's got to be Jolly's home run.
Yeah, I'm with you.
It's got to be. I wanted to give it to Dan for his last strikeout because, like I said, he
like
has
the exclamation
really put
point on that good outing.
He's run up to this point. He's put out a platform saying, I should be Cy Young. Look at how good I actually am. I should be the Cy Young of this tournament.
My dad's here, and I'm showing him I'm good.
My pappy's here. I'm showing him I'm good. But it has to be Jolly's home run.
Yeah, that's it. That's the biggest
number
play.
one thing that people have been struggling to do against Lovia's is score, right?
Yeah.
Nicky's let up 4 runs the entire tournament, coming into this game, he's let up 2. So this scoring against Lovia's has been the struggle. Jolly did it. Jolly doubled Nicky's earned runs in one
Swing of the
swing.
bat.
And it really put the momentum behind Hookline to help them get this win because Dan was dealing pitching. Dan was in the zone pitching. At this point, Dan threw 19 pitches in this game. We're not counting speed violations towards this pitch count. 19 pitches in this game, 11 in the last game. That's 30 pitches total. That's effectively an average pitch count for these one-inning games. And because Nicky threw 29, and Dan threw that in 2 games.
Yeah.
So you knew Dan was going to be...
It was good for a long day,
I guess
too.
you didn't at this time. Yeah. I guess you didn't know Dan was going to be dealing at this particular instance.
Right.
But Jolly puts those numbers up. Dan comes up, shows why he's arguably a top 3 pitcher, probably more along the lines of top 4 pitcher in the tournament.
But shows his potential for
And-
possibly being there at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, we're going to take the final out of it because that shows that he's not a top 3.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't happen.
But he's there. I mean,
without
a lot of people
home
can't
run.
see him. If they don't see him often enough, that lefty look is just so tough because I was explaining to Nicole, too, like how the ball moves. And it was funny. Like, there was a point where I was explaining to her, like, she asked a question about it, and I was telling her whatever. I forget what it was. But as I was explaining to her something about the rules or whatever it was, the fan cam comes over, and it looks like it's just like a boyfriend mansplaining the sport to his girlfriend. I was like, no. She asked. I promise she asked the question. I wasn't just telling her about it. But I was explaining to her sort of about how the ball moves when you're pitching with your right hand and how a fastball,
Right.
for the most part, it'll rise a little bit and also have some horizontal to the right movement. So it'll go in on a righty from a righty. But Dan has the opposite where everyone's used to, most arms in the warehouse are righties. So then there's one guy who, when he throws over the top, it goes the complete opposite direction. So how disorienting it's got to be. Even though you know it's coming, you've just been getting the same look over and over again from everyone else's fastballs. And all of a sudden, this guy just happens to do the exact opposite.
Right.
So that's why he's so effective for a lot of people.
Right. But yeah, I think it's time to move on to the finale. Benji.
Finale.
You don't have a special sound or anything?
Let's see what we got.
Do you let me love you? Oh.
That's nice, I guess.
That's a pretty good one.
Okay.
We don't have that for anything else, right?
I don't think so, no. I think it was supposed to
Good.
be for one of them, and then we ended up where we have the laughs and the guitar. Yeah.
We got Ice versus Hookline. Who would have predicted it besides Brendan Ruppel?
Mm-hmm.
Only
Genius.
that was a good noise. That was a good noise, Brendan.
I knew all along.
But yeah, they come in. Obviously, Hookline is the away team. They're up to bat.
And we got us
first.
is still like the front runner at this point.
Absolutely the front runner at this point. But I had no idea who was going to win this game because both teams were very hot coming into this.
Yeah. No, yeah. I think I was watching it, feeling like it was completely up in the air.
Yeah. Jack walked Jolly to start. And then something switched and he was just absolute filth. Spoiler alert for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
He strikes Dan out kind of ridiculously. Like, it was almost as if, like, for those of you who play video games, Jack was like a 99 rated pitcher with 99 stuff against Dan, who was like a 50. It was gross what he was doing.
You
Then he
see
goes up
stretches of
against
him like
Jolly.
not being able to spot any of his dirty stuff.
Right.
And this game, he just decided, you know what? All the nastiest pitches I have will be hitting pipes or glass from now on.
Yeah. Then he goes up against Jolly, completely overpowers Jolly to get him to strike out. Then he goes back up against Dan, and he kills him again. And at this point, I'm thinking, We Got Ice has this. It's it. Like, they're not going to touch Jack. They're not touching him. Then Dan, we talked about this a little bit earlier before.
Mm-hmm.
First 2 at-bats, strikeout.
Like,
And
oh
you're
shit,
like,
he's still
oh.
going. He's still going, baby.
Dan's still on his heater, and then we talked about it before. At that point, Dan's fatigue catches up to him. 5-pitch walk, single, another walk after Dan had a really good at bat against Zoe. Another single that scores the first run. Then Dan walks in. A double that scores the first 2 runs. Then Dan walks the bases loaded again. Then Jack gets another single for an RBI. Then Zoe gets a single for the RBI. And then Jack hits a homer that only counts for 1 run.
Yeah.
Even though the bases were loaded.
And I remember feeling similar to you, like where you always say, like we just said it before, that once you get 3, you feel pretty comfortable. Once they had 3, I'm like, the first couple of runs, I was like, all right. It's like, doesn't look great because Jack looks so gross. 2 might be too much. 3 is like, well, now we just have to hope for a miracle.
Exactly. And then you have, so they maxed it out, 5-0 coming into the second inning. Jolly steps in.
So now you're just hoping for a game to be made of this. In some
Jolly
way.
strikes out on a ball that's essentially on the floor. And then Dan hits a home run. And then
it was more like a yay, not like a oh shit. It was more just like okay, cool. At least he got one.
I think it was the hook line fan in me that was like, they're gonna fucking do it.
Yeah.
I was like, this is gonna happen.
It's too big of a mountain to climb with just like you said at the beginning, like the way that Jack looked in this game, it looked like he took a step from last game and warmed up a little bit, and there was no chance that they were gonna come back with 5 runs against that version of Jack.
There's that, and it was kind of like body language from Jolly and Dan. Dan hits the home run. Dan does not have
doesn't feel it.
We're coming back.
He's like
swagger about him.
There
he has
is.
the well, at least we didn't. You ever seen the what's that, bench warmers?
Yes.
We didn't get
Many
shut
times.
out.
Yeah.
That's what
that was
Dan's
my high school
body
baseball
language
team
was
too.
like. You have to come back with game too.
We won 1 game in fall ball, and we went back to our friend's house and had a humongous party.
Hell yeah.
We set up fireworks at the house. I kid you not.
Brendan. Oh my God.
It was fun.
Okay, great. So then Jolly strikes out again. Dan hits one at Zoe with the rare bobble.
Mm-hmm.
Hook line's alive. Jolly hits a single. Hook line's alive. And then Jack strikes Dan out.
On like a pitch that is unfair. I think Dan.
So good.
What are you going to do with that pitch anyway?
It was so good. Like, it was so crazy as, like, I wrote in my notes here, Jack seems to lack urgency as he goes behind in the count 3-1. And then he threw such a disgusting pitch, and I was just like, Jack, stop it. He isn't lacking urgency at all. And then he froze Dan for strike 3.
Yeah.
And that's the championship.
There's so many different arm angles, so many different pitches. Like that slot he threw at it with that slider, a lot of times will be the rising slider slot too. And that one decided to not rise at all. It just moved 5 feet to the left and piped it.
Yeah.
Like
it was
nothing you could do.
Jack was on another level today.
Yeah.
And, I think that this was the epitome. This was Jack's highest point so far in the warehouse because Jack, just looking at the Billies tournament, Jack is the best player by far.
Yeah.
And then you take a step back and you're kind of like, oh, the flashiness of Nicky kind of blinded us a little to how good Jack was during the regular season as well. Like, Nicky was fantastic. And this was Nicky kind of putting himself out there being like, I am an MVP quality player.
I think it was their 4-hour run they started with too helped his campaign at that moment.
Right.
For sure.
And I think it's also because Jack is a very subtle confidence. Mm-hmm. Like, Jack is joking around all the time. He's not Mr. like super aggressive, intense, locked in.
Yeah.
Jack is locked in, but in a very different way. And it kind of gets discounted just how good he is.
Yeah. And then everyone knows that he's got the crazy stuff too, and everyone knows he has the potential to be great. But when he is hitting the strike zone with those pitches, it looks like a whole different animal. So we always knew he had this potential, and he could be the best pitcher, but he wasn't always the best performer. on the mound, just because of like some walks and stuff that he would get himself into trouble here and there with how dirty he was. But this tournament, he lived up to all the potential he ever had and surpassed it with also being able to hit super well. So I think you're fully right, and I think Jack can kind of be confirmed now as maybe the best player in the warehouse.
Great segue, Brendan.
Player of the game.
Player of the game.
It's a great segue because it's Jack.
It's Jack.
We talked about it before. We talked about it in the last We Got Ice recap about like, oh, just wait till what Jack does next game. Jack had 6 strikeouts. Jack struck out. Every out that he could have got was a strikeout. Jack went 4 for 5 at the plate with a home run, 2 singles, a double, 4 RBI, and a walk. He threw 50 pitches in this game, but it was over 2 innings. He threw 49. Dan threw 51. For reference, and Dan, only pitched 1 inning. Jack was on a whole nother level. We were talking about it ad nauseum. Jack was on a whole nother level in this game. Jack really was incredible, and I don't want to discount anything that Zoe did because Zoe was also fantastic this game.
Yeah.
But Jack, like I said over and over again, whole nother level.
Yeah.
Jack was ridiculous.
Yeah, the guy's crazy valuable on both ends of the ball. And when you have a guy next to you in Zoe, that'll usually pick you up on anything that actually does get hit. They're both great defenders. It's such a dynamic duo. And with Jack at the helm, you can do no wrong. And he can also be such a great leader for Zoe moving forward. He taught him how to hit, essentially. And now maybe, like you said, he can teach him. If he could teach him how to throw anything like Jack, if he could give him... I mean, they've also made great strides with him on the mound too. But I think he's the best option as a mentor for Zoe moving forward.
Yeah, if Zoe learns how to just be like an average pitcher, We Got Ice will never lose again.
Yeah.
Play of the game.
Play the game.
That's the last one. Last one of the season.
This one goes to Noah McFly.
Oh, I was going to say it as a joke, too.
This one is a weird one. It's going to go to...
It actually is Noah McFly.
It actually is. The Dan Kenobi's on the mound. I think you said there's a man on base. The little grounder that hits off the weird pipe by the bar in the corner.
When Dan grabs it?
He grabs it. He makes the catch, and he's not sure if the ground rules say that it's an out or if it touches anything, it's a single. It was a single,
catch too.
And it was good. It was a good play. Like, he did everything he could. He didn't go face first into the side of the bar for it. Stupidly, he made the right decision and pulled up a little bit, but still caught the ball almost off the ground. And if that counted as an out, or if he got to it just a little bit earlier, or if it just took a different bounce, a higher hop a little bit, he would have been able to get there. And that would have been the third out of the inning. It still would have been 0-0.
Yeah,
you don't know what they could have done if they got to the next inning unscathed. Just a totally different ball game if that play goes any differently. It was very close to being an out.
Absolutely. 100%. You always pick the most interesting plays of the game. I don't mean any
interesting,
disrespect.
meaning good or bad.
I don't
a little bit of both.
mean any disrespect from this, but it's always nothing that I would have thought of as the play of the... for me, whenever I pick it, it's always oh, well, Jolly hit a home run to win the game, so I think that's the play of the game. And for you, it's that one where it popped off the bar, and it could have been an out, but it wasn't an out. I think it's going to be that one.
I think that should have been a triple.
I think it should have been a triple. So, I mean, I agree. Your points are perfect. If the ground rules were different, and I was thinking the same thing watching this. I said, could Dan have gotten there just a little earlier? And I don't think he could have. I think the ball, he was a little too far away, and the ball was moving a little too fast. Even if he had perfect timing with running off the mound, I don't think that he would have gotten there in time. The catch was cool. Too bad it meant nothing. Kind of like Dalton's catch off of Jolly's home run.
Right.
But that really, you're right.
So one of the things we didn't...
he got there a second earlier, and that was it. That was the end of the inning. maybe we wouldn't have been in this predicament. Maybe Hookline
It's-
wouldn't have felt as though they essentially needed home run swings to win the game in
Right.
that second
Yeah.
inning.
Different mindset. So it was funny that when we were there, so speaking of like positioning and stuff and running off the mound, Nicole was asking why everyone decided to play, all the fielders decided to play in right field over there. And it looked like it was just because it was the bigger part of the field. But there was a time she's like, everyone's hitting ground balls to the left side. Why is no one playing there? And I was like, that's a
Nicole's
good.
the real man.
I was like, I don't know. I wonder if it's just because there's less space over there. It'd be too hard to catch hard ground balls that close to the batter. But I would definitely be playing over there because that's where all pull side righties are going to be hitting it.
Yeah.
And she's like, I wonder if they could like, maybe it's just because of a spatial thing. Maybe the pitcher should start like running off the mound to the right side every time they pitch the ball. And I think that's a good. I understand the sentiment, but it's too much to focus on. And if you're
a
now
lot easier
throwing
said than done.
and immediately running over there, like trying to catch any ground ball on the run would be insane. But good. I mean, I like where your head's at.
Nicole should. One of these teams should call Nicole up, get them to be her manager.
It's
We already got jobs.
we have hook line. I wonder who.
I'm the manager of Hookline. Brenda's my manager.
Yeah, my almost wife. As I kept introducing her as my almost wife to people, so she's
That's
she's
really
up,
fucking
up for
funny.
a manager job.
That's very funny, Brendan. You're almost wife.
That's how I introduced her to Jimmy. I was like, "Hey, this is my almost wife." He's like, "Oh, congrats!" He like laughed at like that wording.
Yeah.
And said,
I mean,
"Congrats."
because it's not a real thing.
I'm so sick of saying fiance. It's the lamest word.
I think throughout the entirety of my engagement to my now wife, I called her my fiance twice.
It's a bad word. It sounds like a bad word.
I mean, I kept calling her my girlfriend. I was like, my girlfriend, my fiance.
Yeah. My
I think-
ex-girlfriend.
My ex. Well, who was it? Who sent that? Was that Nicole who posted that?
Yes, yeah.
Was it a Snapchat where she was like, "Oh, only 2 more weeks until we're ex-boyfriend and ex-girlfriend"?
That's the first part of the ceremony is where the minister, I call him. He's not the ordained minister.
The minestrone.
The minestrone, the ordained minestrone. He officially breaks us up in front of everyone. We stage a fight.
You're officially single.
Yes, and then we have to go hook up with somebody real quick while we're single. Someone in the audience, of course, and then we get married.
In the audience.
Yes,
Wow.
big audience. It's a paid live audience.
Paid live audience.
Yeah.
Get your tickets now.
Yeah. Okay. Let's wrap it up, I guess.
Okay, Brendan, what should people be drinking? No, wait. Should we say that?
Do we
Let's
ha-
do a little more pomp and circumstance.
Yeah.
Congratulations, we got ice.
Yes. I was gonna. Yeah. Okay. Congratulations.
Great job. Great
Here's
job
the-
to you guys. Congratulations to everyone. Oh, congratulations.
It was a fantastic tournament. Amazing. How was it overall on your end? I know I enjoyed the hell out of myself. Everyone there did at Billy's. What was it like for you?
Absolutely loved it. I think I reached out to Jimmy way too many times just saying, like, this is crazy how good these
And he
live
kept saying,
shows.
"Just shut up."
He kept blocking me. I had to create so many burners. They're amazing job. It's kind of hard to believe this was their first foray into a live tournament. Like, I know they've done live things before because I like watched a live stream. I want to say this was like a year and a half ago where they just like played a mini tournament in the live stream
Yeah.
in the warehouse. With their like generic warehouse jerseys. The ones that they used in the original Ball and Play tournament. But like this was their first real structured multi-week tournament, like a real part of their like Grand Slam of championships,
Yeah.
right? Kind of crazy how well they did it and how entertaining they made it without the help of like editing magic. They made a really immersive experience that was amazing to watch as a fan, both in person and on YouTube.
Yeah, that's a great point too. Is like how they cut so much stuff when they record beforehand, and the fact that we know for a fact they didn't do that because I was there, and then I'm pretty sure what's on their channel is what I saw because it looked like it for the most part. I don't think they changed anything.
Yeah.
They fill everything. They fill all the airtime with audience inclusion and just like good interviews and stuff from the booth. And there's always something going on, and they turn over games really quickly. It's like, all right, the other one's over. Let's fill out these 5 minutes really quick with some entertainment, and let's start with the next one. Like, there was really no downtime. You were being entertained thoroughly for 3 hours, 3+ hours, whatever it was, however long it was. They did such a good job of just keeping the audience engaged and having fun, while also making sure what they're capturing is just as good as what it always is. And it also, like, just credit to whoever figured out the layout for this place. Like, the way it looked on camera looked so awesome. It looks really professional with those lights. It just looked bigger and exciting just because of how crisp it all looked. Like, it just really looked great. The Billy's was set up really awesome. All the people that were there, of course, they're super nice, because if you're a fan of Jomboy Media, you're probably a pretty cool, nice person, because that's what Jomboy Media seems to attract. They were super nice about walking around the whole time before the game started. Even for the people that didn't have all access, they were still nice about just like saying hi to people and just roaming around as if they weren't celebrities. Because I guess they're not, but the people that are there, they are celebrities to us because we're super fans and weirdos.
Right.
But just
Hell yeah.
I mean, it was a great way to spend a Sunday. I would hope
Yeah.
they do anything like that again soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll definitely try to make it this
Yeah.
time. I mean, I don't anticipate my parents moving again, and then just hopefully my wife doesn't get sick again. That was not a fun experience for me. But yeah, thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, Jomboy
Yeah.
Media. Congratulations, We Got Ice. Congratulations to all of the participants. You all did an amazing job, and we can't wait for the next tournament. And
Just keeps getting bigger
Brendan?
and better, baby.
what should people be drinking?
Drink that subtle tea, baby. You can find it at subtletea.com. You can get $2 off your order by using code HOPPYBOYS. Order some bottles for doorstep delivery.
Speaking of the code Hoppy Boys.
You can listen to that podcast wherever you get your podcast, The Hoppy Boys. You can listen to The Lonely Boys, a show about Gossip Girl. You can listen to The Sandy Boys, is our OC podcast on Patreon, patreon.com/The Hoppy Boys Pod, and listen to the Blitzball Boys more. You can watch this episode. Don't know the link, but I forgot to put it in the show notes last time. Maybe I'll remember this time.
I think you can type in Blitzball Boys Blitz. Yeah. Nope. Yep. Blitzball Boys Blitz. And it
Okay.
has all of our episodes right there from Boys Media, the full podcast like listing, all
Okay,
5.
good. We're up there.
So you could find it there for sure. I will plug Matthew Del Rey. Be
Good.
nice to him if you see him. That's my younger brother. He's a good kid. I love him a lot.
Very nice.
Beyond that, stay tuned because, as is tradition, coming later this week,
The
we will
true.
be having our Blitzball
Awards.
Blitz Awards show.
Wow. So
So-
these are we call these the more these are like the confirmed awards, like the official awards of Jomboy Media.
Yep.
Because it seems to be the one that really gets a lot of buzz around the office. I don't think they really care about whatever Jimmy and Jake give.
A lot of buzz around the office. It's one person has brought it up to us. one person has been like, it was BBD. I'll say it. BBD in his interview to us, in his interview with us, said that he listened to our show, found out that he made the team of the tournament with Jack, said, "Hey Jack, did you hear we made it to the Blitzball Boys team of the tournament?" And Jack was essentially like, "Don't fucking care."
I think you said cool.
He said, "Oh, cool, nice." He did
So
not care.
the buzz is real.
at all.
Everyone that gets to be a part of our awards is very hyped. And
I guess the buzz
the
is
official
real.
awards. Buzz is real.
Yeah. So listen to that when it comes out later this week. Got a question for me, Brendan?
Peter, I just gotta open my notes real quick.
Notes open.
I gotta
Whoa.
go. I turned the wrong way.
Nope.
Oh, do you have anything else you want to talk about?
Bye.
Bye bye.